Hey, fourth grade. So here is a quick lesson about similes in case you need to be reminded. This is part of your Great Horn Spoon packet, and you will need to have this paper right here, or you could do it easily on a piece of notebook paper. It's no problem if you don't have this. I'm going to go over in the book and show you the examples for chapter 1 and what it's asking you to compare. Okay, so let's first look at the directions. There are many similes in the story. Some similes are listed below. Find the object which is being compared to the simile. Page numbers are given to help you, which actually they're not. This is an old paper that we need to redo. So the page numbers are actually not helpful because they're not on the right page. Then you will find on or one, see, look at that, or more similes from each of the other chapters. Be sure to tell what it's being compared to. All right, so I'm not going to read chapter 1 with you. Hopefully you've already read it at this point. But I went ahead and in chapter 1 highlighted the similes that you're looking for, and then we're going to explain why it's considered a simile. Okay, so the first one is actually on page 2. Okay, and it's talking about what is being compared to the heady wind. Okay, and so the sentence here where this is found is the California fever was sweeping through the cities and towns and villages like a heady wind. So that's giving an image of your mind, like people being really excited about gold, and the California fever or gold fever was sweeping through. So just like a wind was blowing, everyone was getting caught up with it. So what's being compared in this simile, like a heating wind, would be California fever. Okay, so that's the simile. And how we know, remember the word like or as. Okay, the California fever, like a heating wind. So if you wanted to, like if you're like me and want to make changes, it's actually on page 2. All right, and then moving forward to the next one, as loud as thunder. So we know it's going to be something that's really loud, a big noise. We find this, I'm going to change that to page 5. Okay, and this is talking about the boat. So he was sure the captain would put them in chains at the very least. Now the whistling of the wind came to them, and the thrashing of the great side wheels seemed as loud as thunder. I wanted to show you, if you don't have that picture quite in your mind, this also is in your packet. Here is a side wheel. So this isn't a clipper ship. So it's a steam ship that's run by coal. And this is a big, huge wheel that is used to move the boat forward. So it's talking about this, if you could think about the water and how it's rough, and this wheel's going psh, psh, psh. So it's as loud as thunder is what Jack is describing here. So we are looking at side wheels. Okay, and then it says the next one, like bees, we find on page 6. It says they entered the main saloon, which is the name of like the area that's inside of the ship, where shivering passengers were swarming like bees around 2 pot-bellied stoves. Everyone seemed to be talking at once and saying the same thing. So what we're knowing is swarming like bees. You think of bees in a beehive, or bees on a flower. So they're surrounding the stove. It must have been very cold where they were. So we're talking who is being surrounded like bees, and that is the passengers. Okay, and number 8 is found on page 7, like the roar of the cannon. So here we have, well, don't just stand there inviting in the weather, he said in a voice like the roar of a cannon. And we're talking about Captain Swain here, which is an interesting character in this book. So like the roar of a cannon was his voice. So You can tell he didn't have a very pleasant, soft-spoken voice, but probably loud and bellowing and probably ear-piercing maybe, or scary. All right, so next and lastly for chapter 1, we're looking at like a plague, and that's found near like halfway through, and it's on page 10. So what is like a plague? So a plague, if you're not quite sure what that word is, a type of sickness, illness. We guess we could probably say that the coronavirus, like a plague. So in this case, it's meaning that not something good. So here we find it on page 10. Bah, this California fever is spreading like a plague. So, as you know, the captain is speaking here, and he's not very fond of this California fever. So he believes that it's spreading like a plague. So that would be, again, the California fever. Okay, so that's all for chapter 1. This one, as we were just getting used to practicing that, there were several. The writer of this book has so many wonderful images in the story. There are more than one simile for each chapter. So what this means right here, this means it's chapter 2. So when you find a simile, you don't have to write the whole sentence, but remember you're trying to figure out two things that are not usually alike and how they're being compared using like or as. So you only need to write one for each chapter. So make sure you look through that as you go along.